Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening and Personal Power series. I'm Mel Gabby, and hopefully, you've been doing some videos so far, or you've just decided to drop into this one and find out more about what it's about. So, today we are going to look at boundaries, setting healthy boundaries and protecting your energy and space. So this is similar to another video that I did, but I'm going to have a slightly different focus. So I'm just going to pull the card that is linked with that. So as usual, just to let you know, I'm using the Lightseers deck. It's a beautiful set of cards by Chris Ann, who's the deck creator and designer and the magic maker. Okay, so a nod to her. And so are you struggling with your boundaries? Do you understand what they mean? Do you know where you begin and other people, where you end and other people begin? And do you notice when you say yes to something and actually mean no and what that feels like? So we're just going to have a look at that and see how we can help you as you get better at managing your boundaries. So, the healthy boundaries basically are essential for emotional health and authentic relationships. They help protect your energy, reduce burnout, and increase your sense of control and self-respect. The Justice card here invites you that you might need to say no, set limits, or communicate your needs more clearly. Boundaries aren't just about pushing people away, it's about creating a safe space where you can thrive. Many of us struggle with fear or guilt when setting boundaries, especially if we're people pleasers or grew up in environments where boundaries weren't respected. So, today, consider what your limits are and how they might get tested and how you can reinforce them with kindness and firmness. Remember, boundaries are an act of self love to empower you to show up more fully. So the affirmation with this, and as with the other videos, I leave the information below the video that you can tune into the journal prompts, the song, the book, and the affirmation. Is I honor my needs and create boundaries that support my well-being. So sometimes we can just practice with one or two if we find it quite difficult. If we're always saying yes and doing for everybody else, if and that's okay until you start to feel resentment or exhausted, and that's a sign that you're overgiving. If you're exhausted, depleted, you're working full-time, part-time, it doesn't really matter what you do, whether you've got children or not, whether you're in a relationship or not. If you're feeling exhausted, it's very hard to give from an empty cup. It's the same we've all heard. And if you're saying yes, and then you feel resentment afterwards, or over time you start to regret that decision, then it's time to really look at your boundaries and how you protect your energy and space. And also how you create the space, like in your own environment, in your own home, or if you live with other people, in your own bedroom. And so that's about, the ideas of whether or not people can disturb you if you like to go and have a nap or you work on things and you don't want to get disturbed. It's about getting that message out there and just being really clear. So I honor my needs and create boundaries that support my well-being. Okay, so that's the first thing. So start focusing on that. And if you struggle with boundaries, you could use this every day for a week to keep you focused on noticing, and some of the other videos will support you in doing this as well, noticing what it feels like when you feel clear and it's an easy yes. So one of the tips that I teach some of my clients is to think about any decisions that you made that was just an easy yes. So and it can start really simple. It's easier to start with a simple one sometimes, where somebody says, do you want a coffee or a tea? And it's yes straight away. You might prefer coffee. Do you want to go for a walk or stay back? And then you might think, actually, I want to stay back. I don't want to go for a walk. But then you can have that internal battle of I should go for a walk. I need to get my 10 minutes in, or I need to do it like this. And so that's another layer that we're sort of dealing with. And then somebody contacts you and says, oh, you're around later to chat about something. And, unless it's an emergency where you need to help that person out, you might be thinking, actually, I want to go and have a proper soak in the bath, and just chill out for a few hours. I've had a boss on my tail all day. I've had lots of projects to sort out. I've had the kids to rush about with. And your body is saying, no, I need a break. But you end up saying yes. So it's thinking about where you say yes when you really do mean no. And you don't want to wait until you are exhausted or that you are starting to get frustrated or resentful. Okay, so justice represents in the tarot fairness, truth, and balance. And so when it appears, it reminds us to establish those clear boundaries. So you can even take a picture of this or go online and get the justice card, take a picture and have it on your phone. So it reminds you to honour yourself and others. It encourages you to take responsibility for your choices and ensure that your energy and space is respected. So if I think about some of my boundaries, for example, is how I like to wake up in the morning and then what I like to do that just sets me up for the day. And part of that is having a really nice long shower or a bath and get my body sort of relaxed. Then doing some yoga that will stretch out any aches and pains or just give me that sense of stillness. So that's in the diary before most things, and I rarely miss that. And then I might go and sit in the garden before I start work and just have that chill time. And all of that time is precious to me. So regardless of whether people are working at home or you know they've gone out to work or I've got the house to myself, I always make sure that I've got that time. And it can be disturbed at times, but mostly it's about how people respect your space and you respect theirs. And the other one then is who calls on your time. So if you're in the people field, you work as a therapist, a coach, a nurse, a teacher, a doctor, where you're giving out all the time, then we all have different levels of tolerance as to how we can do that. And sometimes we need to then pull our energy back because we are feeling depleted, because over time that depletion will lead to, burnout, stress, and impact your mental health. And if someone's always calling on your time, you've got friends who text you, who have expectations that you're going to be in response all the time and that your time's going to be constantly disrupted, or different people to place those demands. I had a client once who just, whose children just thought they should ring up whenever they wanted and their mum should always answer the phone. And if the phone wasn't answered, they'd get grumpy about that, and that's really disrespectful, potentially for your life. If you've got somebody who just thinks the moment that they want something that you're there. And if we feed into that, then it's hard to actually get upset with that person, because if you feed into that, then you're tolerating that behavior and you're kind of setting it as a norm. And it's also something that when I talk to clients about early dating is to be mindful of, is set the scene for how you already live your life before somebody else comes into it, about what makes you feel good, what's important to you, and how you like to spend your time. You like to go out with the lads or the girlfriends, on a Wednesday night, you go and play football or go yoga, you go cycling, you do these things already that support your mental health and well-being. And so honoring the self and what's important to you doesn't mean to say you don't have room for other people, but you've got to make that room for yourself. We already have a lot of demands on our plate. So sometimes it's worth thinking about the very subtle things, as I said at the beginning of this video, is working out what already feels like a yes. Do you want to do this thing on Friday? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But if you know that all week you are rushing from one city to the next, doing a lot of driving, and you know that your energy might be quite low, then you've got to consider what your lifestyle is and how that impacts you to make decisions outside of the priorities that you've got: work, kids, your partner, and anything that you've got going on at the house. So you have to learn to then prioritize your time. So it might be not this Friday, next Friday. And then you stick to those commitments and you only change those. And that's the thing, you can then change commitments, because people know that in 9 times out of 10, you turn up, you show up, and you're there if you need, if they need you in an emergency, but you can't always be there for everybody all the time. So it's worth looking at what makes you feel good, what makes you feel rested and still, and bring your energy back to yourself. And then where is the demands on time? And then deciding out of the day, how much time do you have to give to other people outside of yourself, and how you do that. So this is just really touching the surface of this topic. I could do a whole workshop on this and spend time with everybody in that workshop, having a look at that and going deeper into the micro details. Because when we step out of the big stuff, years ago, I had some friends that were always around the house. I lived on a street where I had a few friends there, and we were popping in and out. And when the kids were little, it kind of worked, and we all understood that the kids were going to be in bed by maybe 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. And then you flop down on the sofa if you're lucky, you haven't got loads of housework and cooking and everything still to do. But sometimes in that exhaustion, you can still open your door and, you're letting people share your life. And then you realize that that starts to have an impact. And so it's about being able to say, look, I'm really tired. I want to do a rain check for the next few days and have time out. And people that love and respect you should be able to honor that and understand that sometimes we need space, especially introverts. I'm fairly introvert, so I need a lot of space and time to recover when I've been at external events or done a lot of driving. Even though, if you see my camper van series, you'll see that I do a lot of that, but I'm more aware now of how much I can do before I need to stop. So the book recommendation is Boundaries: When to Say Yes, How to Say No, and How to Take Control of Your Life. And there'll be several books on boundaries if you go to Amazon or any of the other bookstores. But this one is a classic guide to understanding and setting healthy boundaries. The song recommendation is Respect by Aretha Franklin. So that'll get you moving and get you in a high vibe when you're moving around your space. And that's the other thing to notice. If you're feeling high vibe and in a good space and you're managing life fairly well, then start to notice what you come into contact with, or who you come into contact with when your energy changes and you start to feel tired and drained. And you want to minimize then the contact with the people if that's a constant, if that's always a given. And studies show that boundaries helps us improve mental health and reduce stress and increase relationship satisfaction. If you're struggling with boundaries, you can also get crystal, which is black tourmaline, and it's a powerful protective stone that shields against negative energy and helps you maintain boundaries. So the journal prompts are: where in my life do I feel my boundaries are unclear or weak? What fears come up when I think about setting boundaries? How can I communicate my needs in a loving but firm way? And then one final thought is, sometimes for people who've moved away, live in a different city or country, and they go back and visit family, there's often this real pressure to visit absolutely everybody and go and see them and spend time because you've not been there for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. But if you know that, quite quickly your energy can be depleted and you're feeling a little bit stressed with that, then it's good to say early on, I need to pace myself because I'm going to be seeing different people in the family. And if you know that spending a whole day with the family one day, maybe the next day for the morning, you have rest and you have time to relax. If you're moving about from one place to the next, can you find like a bedroom or a walk or something that you can go and start articulating what you need and say, look, I love spending time with you, but haven't seen you all for a while. It's a bit overwhelming at times, and I need to just get out and have a walk. And initially, if you're not used to doing that, people can, you can feel like they're looking at you strange. But it's really important because what that does is it actually supports your relationships, helps other people start to do the same if you've got other people in the family that are always giving. And so it helps us respect and honor our space without getting into rows and ruining what, could have been a really good trip. And that's often where the challenge is. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Contact me if you want to set up some sessions to do some work together. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again.